Hello and welcome back to Peaky Boardgamer. My name is Dr. Rakos and today I will teach you another upcoming board game by Waterworks Games, Space Freight. The game is designed by Tyler and Brendan Chavez and will be up on Kickstarter very soon. This here is a prototype and not the final product, and this means that what you hear or see in this video might change in the future. In the game, you're the captain of a cargo spaceship in command of a crew which you can adjust by gaining new cards in the way that best suits your strategy. Then you go out in space, collecting resources, trading and accomplishing missions in order to gain victory points and win. All this done in a very straightforward and exciting way. There's also a little bit of stealing which increases the fun factor. Let's move to the table and see how the game is played. Welcome to the era of space freight forwarding. Each player controls a spaceship, loading and unloading cargo in space. Players alternate turns performing two actions. Major actions include moving from a dock station to space and vice versa, mining on a planet to get the corresponding resource. While in space you can salvage scrap, but also other resources that players might jettison in space when exceeding their allowed capacity. Players can trade resources if docked in the trading center, complete missions in the mission center gaining victory points, etc. Players have a crew which determines the efficiency of these actions, the ship's capacity, the ability to mine or salvage, etc. As an action, players may also acquire additional cards to enhance this efficiency or gain additional bonuses and actions. Once all gold is taken by players, the game ends, and after scoring, the player with most victory points will be the winner in Space Freight. At first, place the board in the middle of the table. Place the resource supply tray at one side of the table. There are 7 different types of resources. Except that gold and scrap resources, all other types are also known as gemstones. Take all scrap resources and scatter them in the space area of the board. Next, roll the 6 d6 dice and randomly distribute them to the d6 spaces of the trading exchange area. Finally, place the metallic d4 die in the d4 space of the area so that value 1 is pointed at the top. Take the mission tiles and separate them according to their payment award, 8 gold and 6 gold. After you shuffle the 2 stacks, place them to their corresponding spaces on the main board, facing upwards. Take all cards of the game and separate all cards depicting a value in the bottom right corner. You should end up with 5 sets of 6 cards each. These are the starting player cards and you should set them aside for now. Shuffle all remaining cards thoroughly and create a single deck. Place this deck on the indicated space on the board and then reveal the top 6 cards, placing them facing upwards in the 6 market spaces right next. Take ships equal to the number of players. In a 3-player game, like in our example, use ships from 1 to 3. Randomize these ships and then deal 1 random ship to each player. Then give each player the corresponding set of starting player cards. They're all the same. Player 1 and Player 2 start the game with 1 gold resource. Player 3 and Player 4 starts with 2 gold. And if there is a 5th player in the game, that player would start with 3 gold. Players dock their ship in the corresponding home base on the board. For convenience, players should sit next to their home base. Starting resources should be placed in the player's storage right next to the home base. Players then arrange their cards, creating columns of same type of cards. Players can also use this handy player aid with a list of actions. The game is now ready to start. Players alternate turns following ship order indefinitely until the game ends. So player 1 will take the first turn, followed by player 2, and so on. On your turn, you execute 2 actions. These actions can be either same or different. This here is the list of actions and I will now explain each one in detail. Each player has a home base docking station. This station gives access to your personal storage. If your ship is docked there, as it is at the beginning of the game, then as an action you can load and or unload any number of resources between your ship and your storage. The number of resources you can hold in your ship at any time depends on the number of dock worker cards in your crew. Each card grants +2 capacity, so you start the game with a total capacity of 6 resources. Important! During your turn you can exceed this limit, but when your turn ends you must jettison excess resources to the space area. This is not regarded an action and the player chooses which resources will be jettisoned. The most basic action is a move. You can see on the board there are several docking stations. With one action, you move your ship either from a dock station to space or from space to a vacant docking station except than opponent home bases. Another exception is the trading exchange area. If you are docked on one of its stations, then you can move to another one of its stations with only one action, so without having to move to space first. Space is a common area that can accommodate any number of ships at the same time. Next we have mining. If you are docked on a planet, then as an action you can mine gemstones of the planet's color. The number of gemstones you mine in a single action depends on the number of miners in your crew. You start the game with one miner and each miner allows you to mine one gemstone per action. At this point you should note that resources supplies are limited. If there are not enough in the bank for you to take, then you take as much as you can. If your ship is located in space, then you can perform the salvage action to load resources that exist in space onto your board. The number of resources you can load depends on scavenger cards in your crew. Each card allows the salvage of one resource per action and you start the game with only one such card. Important, when you mine or salvage, you must use all of your crew and take the full amount of resources if possible. Excess cubes will have to be jettisoned at the end of your turn, as explained earlier. The next action is trade. In order to trade, you must be docked in one of the stations of the trading exchange area. Each trade transaction is made between the bank and resources in your ship, never between you and other players. What resources you can trade and in what ratio depends on the space you are docked. You can trade the resources of the dice colors adjacent to your station, as well as gold indicated by the pyramid die in the middle, which is regarded adjacent to all stations. For example, I could spend 1 gold to gain 2 rubies or 4 emeralds. I could also do the opposite, spend 2 rubies to gain 1 gold, or spend 2 rubies to gain 4 emerald. However, you cannot change this ratio. This means I cannot spend 1 ruby to gain 2 emerald. Let's say I choose to spend 2 rubies to gain 4 emerald. This was one trade. Every trader in your crew allows you to either do one trade transaction or alter one adjacent d6 die by plus or minus 1. However, you cannot turn a 6 value die into a 1 or a 1 value die into a 6. So if I were performing a trade action and I had 2 traders in my crew, I could make 2 trades same or different, or instead I could change the value of one of the dice by 1 and then do 1 trade with my remaining trader. Another action is to complete a mission. If you are docked in the mission center, you may fulfill one of the visible missions by delivering the indicated resources, so you gain the gold depicted here. The resources you deliver must come from your ship, and the gold you acquire is also loaded onto your ship. In the end, you take the tile and place it next to your storage area. Finally, as an action, you may acquire 1 card from the card market. You can perform this action regardless where your ship is located. You spend the resources depicted in the top left corner of the card and place it next to your play area. Finally, you immediately replenish the empty space with a new card from the supply. Important, when you buy cards, the resources must be spent from your storage area and not from your ship. Some cards will affect your efficiency when performing the actions we explained, while other cards grant you different actions and abilities. Let's check them out. Crew cards are added to your other crew cards and increase your action capabilities. For example, if I gained another scavenger card, I would place it here, and from now on I will be gaining 2 resources when I salvage. There are also another 3 types of crew cards that can only be acquired during the game. Spacemongers enable you to perform the swap action. You may only perform swap if you are located in space. You then select one opponent's ship also in space and you swap goods between the 2 ships 1 to 1. You take 1 resource and you give another back. Every spacemonger allows you to swap 2 resources per action, even gold. The player performing the swap selects what goods will be swapped and the opponent cannot refuse. The Saboteur enables you to perform the displace action. When performing this action, you select any one docked ship, even your own, and undock it, placing it into the space area. Important, you cannot do the opposite. Each Saboteur allows you to make 1 displacement per action. The last crew card type is the Shapeshifter. At the beginning of your turn, shapeshifters can become any crew type, even crew types you don't yet have like saboteurs or spacemongers. This effect remains until the beginning of your next turn. At that time, the effect is reset and you may choose the same or a different type of crew for your spaceshifter in your new turn. Except on crew cards, there are also boost cards. Boost cards have a one-time effect. There are 18 different effects. I cannot explain them in this video, but are pretty straightforward and you can pause the video to check them out. You need to spend 1 action to use 1 boost card, and after its use, the card is discarded. Finally, we have officer cards. Each officer grants you a unique ongoing effect after acquired. There are only 5 officers. I will not explain them in detail, but again you can pause the video at this moment to check what each card does. Finishing with cards, you must note that there is a limit of 6 crew cards per type. For example, I could have no more than 6 miners. Players also have the option of passing as an action. Players can pass 1 or even both of their actions. The game ends immediately as soon as the last gold resource from the supply is placed in a player's storage. If that happens during that player's first action, then there is no second action and you immediately proceed to scoring. In scoring, players score the victory points depicted on their cards, victory points granted from their completed missions, and also 1 victory point for every gold resource in their possession. After tallying up the score, the player with the most victory points wins. In case of a tie, the tied player with most crew cards wins. If the tie still exists, then the winner is the player with most gemstones. After that, all tied players share their victory. And that were the rules of Space Freight by Waterworks Games. Stay tuned for the game's upcoming Kickstarter really soon. If you like our videos and want to see more videos like that, please subscribe to our channel. Until next time, have fun and play more board games.